Awnings are a must for an Australian 4x4 tourer, whether it's to keep you dry in the winters or to prevent skin like mine burning to a crisp in the hot summers. They sure do come in handy. Now, I've been running a traditional rollout awning from the side of my Land Cruiser for years now, but it came time to look for something just a little bigger. So while researching for a 270-degree or wraparound styled awning for my vehicle, I noticed two things. Firstly, there is a huge range to choose from on the Australian market, and secondly, there are many different designs and way in which we can get that full coverage around the vehicle. So why did I choose this 30-second awning? Well, stick around and I'll show you. Today we're going to go into full detail in regards to this 30-second awning. We're going to talk about some of the specifications, how I went about installing and choosing a mounting setup onto the roof rack, and talk about its practicality and functionality. We're going to test the setup time and talk about some of the negatives or perhaps some of the considerations you might want to take into account if you're looking at a 270-degree awning for your vehicle. Along with this, I'm also going to recommend a few products that I've bought to go along with this to make life a little easier. And as always, I'll have a timestamp in the description below if you're looking for a particular piece of information. But let's get started. This is the 30-second awning, not to get confused with OzTent, the company who manufactures the 30-second tent. This awning is made from water and rot-proof 280 GSM Riplock canvas and provides nearly 12 square meters of shade. It boasts the ability to be set up by a single person in only 30 seconds. Weighing in at 27 kilos and a length of 2.7 meters on the roof rack, it sure stands out. The frame features a central steel bracket with 3 pivoting points and aluminium A-frame arms. The unit comes with a single drop-down center pole and several tie-down eyelets on the outer edge. So there's a number of reasons I chose this brand and style of awning, but let's start with the installation process. As mentioned earlier, this awning comes in at a whopping 27 kilos, which is not ideal for mounting up high on your four-wheel drive. It's even worse when we're overhanging it off the side of the roof rack. So the stresses and pressures placed on any mounting solution is going to be significantly more than that of any standard awning, which comes in at about 10 kilos. Not only that, but we also have to consider the more extreme conditions and those relentless corrugations that we place these products under when mounting to our four-wheel drives. And it's for this reason that I chose a very particular set of brackets made by Kaon. These heavy-duty, fully adjustable brackets are sold in packs of 3, and this is definitely going to help my concern with the mounting strength. They have an extended arm that reaches across 2 of the Rhino rack main channels and an adjustable mounting plate that fixes onto the rear of the awning. In order to install the awning, I have to decide where I'm going to mount those 3 brackets. So I decided to mount one as far back on the roof rack as possible, one as far forward as possible, and one in the center on a rearward bias. They haven't been placed there randomly. They all line up with a crossmember that runs along the vehicle underneath those main Pioneer platform channels. This is going to provide the best resilience to those twisting forces. Once those positions were determined, it's time to fix those mounting plates onto the awning. This is one of the differences between this awning and others on the market. The aluminium backing structure of this awning is enclosed within that bag. Now, this is great for dust and waterproofing, however it means that you need to drill holes into the rear of the bag to push the mounting bolts up and through and into the backing plates. Just another reason to ensure that you line up these brackets correctly, not something you want to have to redo. Sliding the bolts into position, and I enlisted some help to fasten these plates down. From here, it's easiest to attach the mounting arms to those backing plates on the ground and then lift them up onto the roof rack. With these brackets installed, we can see just how much support they provide the awning. We have a total of 12 bolts supporting the arms down into the Pioneer roof rack slats over 2 of the cross members. In addition to that, we have a further 12 bolts supporting those arms to the bracket that bolts onto the back of the awning, and another further 12 bolts supporting that bracket into the back of the awning itself. So pretty confident to say it's a fairly strong setup. This awning prides itself on the setup time. I mean, it has 30 seconds written on the outside of the bag, but how long does it realistically take to deploy this awning? Well, let's find out. We start by removing the Velcro and unzipping the bag, undoing the 3 Velcro straps that hold the canvas up and removing the tie strap in the front of the awning. Attach that tie strap to the outer A-frame arm and walk around the vehicle. Hook the tie strap onto the opposing side of the roof rack and tighten by pulling the slack. walking back around and extending the center support pole, and we are done. So not quite 30 seconds, but very, very close. And you must admit it looks very easy, and that's because it is. It's a very, very simple awning to be put up with a single person, and all of the hardware needed is included in that oversized bag. And most of it's already in position or attached, ready for use and deployment straight away. A few additional seconds can be added to the setup time if you want to drop down that single support leg if required. There's a number of reasons that I chose this particular make and model of 270-degree awning, and the last 6 months of testing and use have confirmed some of its benefits and advantages. The first pro is obviously this huge amount of coverage. The awning provides almost 12 square meters to the side and the rear of the vehicle, and is obviously a huge benefit when we are talking about awnings. We just covered another reason I purchased this awning a moment ago, and that is the setup. The awning is not only deployed very quickly, but also very easily. I don't need assistance from anyone else, and I don't need to perform a balancing act trying to hold a traditional rollout awning while trying to secure the twist lock poles swinging around from the vehicle. Most traditional awnings, and some 270-degree awnings for that matter, are not necessarily freestanding. This awning, utilising that strong steel pivoting bracket and aluminium A-frame arms, can be completely freestanding. This provides very usable, uninterrupted space underneath the shelter, but again just adds that ease of use and simplicity. An advantage that might be forgotten about with freestanding awnings is when the sun shifts position in the sky, sometimes the coverage that these awnings provide can be diminished. But with a freestanding awning, you can jump in your vehicle, spin it around, reposition the shade, and maximise that amount of cover. Maybe not something that will be used all the time, but just another handy little advantage. Freestanding awnings are great, but not so much when the wind picks up. There are going to be times when you're going to need to provide additional support for this awning. One thing I did not want to have to do is carry around additional hardware or pole bag in the back of my vehicle to support this shelter. And with this 30-second awning, I don't have to. Just above me here, we have a single drop-down pole velcroed to the A-frame arm. Simply dropping that down, securing it to height, and we're done. Not only does this give this awning a little bit more support, but we also have eyelets on the outside of the shelter here that we can tie down with guy ropes to make sure it doesn't blow away. In keeping with this convenience, we can also keep all of the hardware required to support this awning in the oversized bag around the product. There's nothing more frustrating than when a manufacturer creates a very small bag tightly wrapped around the product. It looks great on the shelf, gives it the illusion it's a little bit smaller than it is, but when you go to pack it away in the bush and maybe add an extra support pole, there is no chance of getting that back into the factory bag. Not the case with this one. The bag is admittedly quite large, but this means that we can store 2 additional internal drop-down poles, an additional external adjustable pole, and the tie strap. Even with all of this gear, the bag still closes with ease. Now, having 12 square meters of coverage is great, but that also means that you have a 12 square meter piece of canvas that may want to identify as a kite. So if the wind picks up, you need to make sure you're able to tie this awning down securely. This awning has multiple tie-down points. Ideally, you'll want to start by tying down from each of the eyelets above the supporting poles. This would ordinarily be enough, however, if it's raining, then you probably want to make use of the loops in the center of each panel to put a little more tension on the material to prevent water pooling. This awning gives you the ability to secure each and every section, giving you confidence that it won't fly away and damage your vehicle on the way out. Now, that center pole up there might not look like much, but there are 2 advantages that I've come to enjoy in the last 6 months of use. The first is obvious. It lifts the material up and creates an angle for any of the pooling water to quickly drain away. Something maybe not so obvious is just the feel within this space. Lifting that canvas up just a little bit higher removes some of that claustrophobic feeling that comes to the roof surface just above your head. It may not be something to worry about for some people, but just another little bonus with this setup. We're all quick to judge an awning by the time of its setup, but what about packing it away? Well, it's almost just as impressive. Have a look. Packing this unit away is the reverse of the setup earlier. Lowering the center pole, loosening and unhooking the tie strap, walking the unit around the vehicle, and rolling up that loose canvas. Secure the Velcro straps, place the tie strap in the front end of the bag, and zip it up. This process does take just a little longer than setup, but it's still very easy and simple. This process is also a single person pack away, no carrying or lifting awkward or heavy components, and if it's raining, all of the water just flows away when the canvas folds into these convenient triangle shapes. So it's a great awning, right? Well, it absolutely is, but there are definitely a couple of things that you may want to consider before throwing your hard-earned money at it. Now the first one is weights. With more and more focus and attention being brought to the weights of modern day four-wheel drives, this awning may be pushing those who are already close to their GVM limits over the top. It's certainly not the heaviest awning on the market, but it's definitely not the lightest. At 27 kilos, it sits in the middle of a lineup. In addition to those legal limit concerns, adding almost 30 kilos up high on your setup may alter vehicle handling, particularly if added to other heavy accessories already up there. Another consideration is water pooling. Now yes, I did just mention that this center pole does negate water pooling up on top of the awning, but it doesn't negate it completely. If you're camping in the rain, you'll still get a puddle left behind on those large sheets of canvas. Unlike a traditional rollout awning, you can't just lower a corner and allow the water to flow off. It's not a deal breaker, but just something you want to consider, and don't expect to see the water drain off completely. Another consideration is the packaging and shipping if you're looking at buying this awning online. Now, if you're like me and you buy it from the authorized retailer 4x4 Mods Australia, well, my experience was not so great. The packaging was horribly inadequate. It was a very, very thin cardboard box protecting this awning from being thrown around in the back of the truck. I count myself lucky that I didn't have any damage to the awning. However, because of the tears and the holes in the boxes, I did lose some of the accessories I ordered and some of the accessories that come standard with the awning itself. Now, I emailed the company and I was passed from staff member to staff member, who were all apologetic and friendly enough. However, it took over 4 months to get a couple of rubber feet for the additional poles, and I never actually ended up getting the 90-degree brackets. Not a massive thing, but 4 months is definitely a long time and may put some people off ordering online. Now the awning is great, but I think I managed to make it just a little better and create some additional benefits by adding just a couple of accessories. The first accessory I'd recommend is to get 2 additional support poles to match that included center pole. These additional poles click into the same ball joint type fitting on the other A-frame arms in the same manner. They provide much more support for the unit overall, but most beneficial, allow for the tight tie-down points from those eyelets. I've put a link in the description below to these super handy Velcro cable ties that secure the legs with ease. Now, of course, you're going to be able to secure these A-frames down using the eyelets, but without those additional support poles, the tighter you pull, the more this flexes, still a bit of movement in there, and it places a lot of twisting force on that central bracket. Adding that additional pole means you can tension the guide ropes down nice and tight and prevent any unneeded stress. These poles, just like the center one, can remain with the unit upon pack up and easily fit within that standard bag. The next accessory I would recommend are a couple of these walls. Each straight section on this awning has a zip. That zip links up with the zip on the wall, and we get a huge amount more protected space from the elements. These walls are easily installed, again by a single person, and require at least 2 pegs, but recommended 3 along the bottom. They taper outwards rather than just straight up and down. This provides a huge amount of additional dry and protected space within the awning. I used this setup a number of times during rainstorms, and it gave me great usable dry space and protection from the wind. I initially only bought 1 wall, but realizing how much extra protection they give you and how valuable they are in bad weather, I went out and bought a second one. The walls zip together and really do provide significantly more protected space. I've chosen a wall with a large central window. However, you can also opt for a plain canvas wall or one with a zipped door, whichever suits your needs. Now, one issue I came across is I often find myself placing a wall on the last straight section of the awning to protect the kitchen in the back of a Land Cruiser 200 series. Now, what I found was this most external bar here would bow down with the pressure pulled down by the peg supporting the wall. And the issue that came about from that was the fact that this bar would then rub up against the top tailgate section of my 200 series upper tailgate. Then there's no provision here to mount an internal pole, and even if there was, you wouldn't be able to access it or drop it down due to the placement of this last bar. But there is a hole here designed to be able to put an external pole in, which is why I now carry an external telescopic pole. Extending this and securing it through the hole just like we would with the other poles, and we now have a well-supported awning that is no longer under stress and won't be damaging my vehicle. Even though it won't integrate into the aluminium arm, it still fits well into that standard bag, and I even use it to assist with lifting and dropping the center pole support. Now, when considering a 270-degree awning, you also need to consider the access to your vehicle. So whether you have a ute canopy with gull wing side access doors, single or dual barn doors, or a split or single tailgate, you really want the access to the vehicle when the awning's packed away and when it's fully deployed. Now, for us 200 series Land Cruiser owners, it's a little bit of a pain with this split tailgate system, as we have this plastic spoiler up the top, which can cause some clearance issues. Now, in addition to choosing the Kaon triple bracket setup for the huge support it gives for the awning, it also provides the perfect amount of clearance while keeping the awning as low profile as possible. The rear tailgate just touches this setup as I've explained today, but only just. I've added those extra support poles and I only need to set up this rear support leg with a little additional height and I have no issues. In the case that I forget to set this pole up or just quickly grab something out of the back of the vehicle, I've added this adhesive foam tape to protect the paintwork from scratching or marring. So if you're looking at this awning or any wraparound awning for that matter, just make sure to measure the clearances and make sure you can still access your vehicle as designed. So what do I think of this awning? Well, honestly, it's becoming one of my favourite touring accessories on the Land Cruiser 200 series. On a recent trip up to the Pilbara for 3 weeks in Western Australia, we experienced a lot of sunshine and a lot of rain. And then some more rain, and in fact, 5 days of wet weather while we waited for a nearby river to drop to allow us access out. This awning saved our sanity. It allowed a few of us to stay nice and dry underneath it, seek some shelter, be comfortable, and not get on each other's nerves. The way in which the Land Cruiser set up at the back there meant that no water was bouncing, splashing, or trickling down the side of the vehicle. It was all diverted to the roof channels on the Land Cruiser, and all of our gear and our setup, as much as it could, would stay nice and dry. The setup and pack down method is not only favourable because of just how quick it can be completed, but also because I don't need someone else to help me. Being freestanding, this awning is actually easier to set up with one person. As we know when we're out on the road, the easier and more convenient something is to use, then the more likely we are to use it and then benefit from it. The freestanding aspect of this awning has been awesome. Now, I'm normally a little bit paranoid and tie down awnings regardless of the weather conditions, but it's those quick roadside stops where it comes into its own. When I know the awning is only going to be set up for an hour or so, if the weather is nice, the ability to quickly deploy, use and pack up the awning is absolutely awesome. Not to mention the ability to still drive or move your vehicle around to best suit the shelter for your setup. So sure, there might be some better quality, perhaps some better designed awnings on the market. However, this one here has performed flawlessly over the last 6 months and met all of my expectations. I guess you have to ask yourself, is it worth spending an additional $1,000 to $1,500 more on a product like this? And I guess it comes down to personal preference and how you use your gear. But this 30-second awning coming in at about $1,250, in my opinion, represents good value for money. Keeping in mind, if you do want to add those Kaon heavy duty brackets, you're going to need to add about $300 more. So in conclusion, the simplicity, ease of setup and pack up, the strength and the accessories that can be added to an awning like this, along with that value for money, do really make a great overall package. The awning has performed flawlessly for me over the last 6 months and has made me and my family a little bit more comfortable while camping, while we still await the arrival of our new van. But guys, thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope I've managed to provide some useful information that helps you to determine whether or not a product like this is going to be suitable for your setup. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.